On today's show, the San Diego Padres continue their magical run of winning with another win, obviously, against the Pittsburgh Pirates, thanks to Michael King going absolute beast mode, the Padres offense showing up at least as much as they needed to, the Padres bullpen doing what they were hired to do, and then also, what will it take for the Padres to make the playoffs? What record do they have to go down the line? What can they do? What is their upside? All of that and a whole lot more, guys. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Wednesday, August 14th. As always, I am your host with sometimes, occasionally, but certainly not always the most, Javier Reyes. You may be familiar with my baseball-related work over at Just Baseball, a fantastic website, if I do say so myself. Go check out my writing there about not just the Padres, but general baseball stuff. And speaking of general baseball stuff, I also have a podcast over there about general baseball stuff called Baseball versus the World, where we just did an interview with Tony Barnett, former Rangers pitcher, about his journey from the minors to Japan and then back to Major League Baseball. Really fun interview, so go check that out. And speaking of general baseball as well, I'm actually going to, for Just Baseball on Friday, be doing a crossover with my guy Patrick Lyons to talk about the Rockies series. So look forward to that. Don't get me wrong, I'll talk about it on my podcast, but if you want that, if you want to be on the live show, if you want to tune in for some thoughts there and see some different faces maybe, go stay tuned for that. Today's episode, guys, is brought to you by Prize Picks. First of all, we got to mention that Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and get $100 off. Well, a first deposit match. So that's not quite $100 off, but you get my point. First deposit match up to $100. Use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB. Today's episode, we are recapping last night's game, as well as getting into a couple of other questions. And I didn't mention this in the intro, a little bit of a power rankings update. Over at Locked On, we have all the hosts vote on what they think are the top 30 teams, and then you put an aggregate together, and that creates our power rankings. So going to go over that a little bit, react to that. I think it'll be fun. But I think overall, there wasn't once again, not too much happened in this game. There was a lot that happened, honestly, in Monday's game that I felt like talking about. But in this game, pretty straightforward, and it starts with one Sir Michael King. 6 innings, no earned runs on 7 hits, no walks, and 10 Ks. So it was really nice. Now, that you could sometimes attribute this to luck, but it was really nice that he did give up a lot of hits, but he never broke, right? He bent, and he most certainly did not broke. So love that. And then most importantly, the 10 strikeouts with no walks. That's exceptional stuff. He generated 17 whiffs across all of his pitches in total. 6 whiffs, by the way, on his fastball on 10 swings, which I thought was impressive. Because usually he's more of the changeup. I feel like is usually what gets batters the most with Michael King, but that was not the case here. I will say his sweeper, which he only threw 11 times, but even still, that got absolutely roughed up. Let me tell you, they were hitting the crap out of that one. I don't know what that was. Maybe it was just a mirage or whatnot. I know that's not usually his go-to pitch. I feel like Matt Waldron is usually the guy who has a little bit better of a sweeper, and certainly that knuckleball. But they absolutely killed that pitch. 106.1 miles per hour exit velocity on those 11 pitches. So they were killing that, but otherwise they really couldn't touch this guy, and it was absolutely lovely to see, especially after, he had a little bit of a slip up in his last start where he gave up 3 earned runs against the Pirates, but he still, look, King, I really stand by it. I really feel like King hasn't had a truly bad start in months. I talked about this before, his previous start against the Pirates. It was a little bit weird. One of the runs wasn't even earned. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was a bullpen issue that came in against Pittsburgh. And then you had the last bad start, which was against Milwaukee, where he still managed to go 6 innings. Yes, he gave up 9 hits and 5 runs, but he also walked 8. And if people remember that game, it was a lot of singles that just kind of went through the middle, right? So it wasn't like they were absolutely killing him. So you love to see that very, very much. Just splendid stuff. And the changeup was working. Like I said, 36.9% whiff rate on that pitch. His sweeper is actually not as bad as I was mentioning. He does have a 34.3% whiff rate on that. But even still, I feel like it's not necessarily the one that he goes to all the time, and I'm not worried about it, I guess. So whatever. Very, very cool. Very good start for Michael King, keeping the Pirates in check, and so does the rest of the Padres bullpen. And it was kind of like as advertised. We kind of saw for the first time in a little bit what it's like when you see all of the acquisitions that you made come to fruition and pay off so quickly. You had Jason Adam make an appearance, 1 inning, no hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Tanner Scott came in, 1 inning, 1 hit, no walks, no runs, 2 strikeouts, and then Robert Suarez comes in to close it. No spectacular Jackson Merrill catch this time, but it's okay. It was still great. I just got love for this kind of outing, I think, last night from the Padres pitching, showing you that while I'm still a little bit concerned, and I've voiced my displeasure with how much the Padres gave up for relievers, but you have seen some nice bounce back performances this year, although it hasn't been as locked down as I think some people might expect, but it's still been a very good bullpen and maybe the key to them making a good run come the playoffs. But really love to see it, especially after, remember, the 30 runs in 6 games against Pittsburgh and Miami. That hasn't been great, so it's nice to see that the Padres pitching is making a nice comeback, I think, giving up only 1 run in these 2 games combined to Pittsburgh batters. And granted, I understand that Pittsburgh isn't a good team. It does not matter to me right now because this is an amazing run that the Padres are on. They're like, what are they, like 18-3? In their last 21 games, basically, they've been absolutely on fire. So no matter who you play, you could play the Marlins, you could play the White Sox. You could play the White Sox with not even their best player like Luis Robert or Garrett Crochet, and I'd still say it's still impressive for you to keep shutting teams down. So really, really good stuff from the Padres. When it comes to the offense, not too much in this game. Once again, a little bit of a down game for the Padres when it comes to the offense. Luis L. Ortiz for the Pirates. Don't worry, this wasn't a lefty thing again, but he goes 5 innings, only gives up 1 earned run on 3 hits. But regardless, it's okay. We did get Luis Ariz goes 2 for 3 with a walk in this game and a stolen base. Frankly, one of his best games in a while, so really like to see that. Profar goes 0 for 3. He's been a little bit... No, actually, no. I don't know why. Every time I think Profar, I think what it is that if Profar goes like 2 of 3 games or so without doing too much, I start to get this vibe like, okay, finally. Now he's finally starting to come down. So I think that I have this like short leash where I'm like almost expecting the other shoe to drop for some reason with Jackson Profar, just based on history, not based on what he's literally doing. It's just that it's pretty insane to go from an 870, like a lifetime career OPS of like 700 to an 878 after being the worst qualified player in baseball last year. Like, it's just so unbelievable in a lot of ways that I'm almost like, I'm scared. I love him, guys. I love him. But also in this game, Jake Cronenworth going 1 for 4. Hopefully he can start picking things up. Manny Machado 1 for 2 in this one with 2 RBIs and a walk. Most of the offense, of course, coming from one certain Manny Machado. 1 from a sac fly, 1 from a single. In this game. And then also, what else we got here? And then we have, oh yeah, that's right, what everyone expects, David Peralta 2 for 3 in this game with a home run, a solo shot. So a couple things. Number one, again, I just love that there's really not a weak spot in this Padres lineup, right? Really isn't. When you actually break it down, there really isn't that much of a weak spot in this Padres lineup, and it's lovely to see. Obviously, there are players that are worse than others. We've talked about Kim. We've talked about Bryce Johnson, but this is just amazing to see. We're going to continue talking about the rest of this game, as well as talking about a little bit of the wild card update, because I feel like that's the majority of what this show is going to be over the next coming weeks and I guess month, is the wild card update. Keeping an eye on what exactly is going on in Major League Baseball and how the Padres can make the playoffs, and then also some power ranking updates. So don't worry, folks. And I'm going to answer some of your questions too. I don't usually do that on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday show, obviously, but we're going to do it today just to make an exception. But first, guys, let me just take 1 minute to talk to you about one of our sponsors, and that is the good folks over at Liquid IV. Here's the thing with Liquid IV. When you're taking in America's pastime, when you're on the beach, whatever it is, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's Popsicle Firecracker flavor, a surefire summer hit. And here's the thing with Liquid IV, it's not just the taste of the flavors and all that. You get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America, because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration, folks. So go check out Liquid IV. They've got all sorts of flavors, not just the Popsicle Firecracker, but other ones like, where is it? They have a pina colada flavor. I don't know where it is on my ad copy right now. It seems to have left me. So shouts to them. Unbelievable. They betrayed me. No, I'm kidding. Citrus fueled lemon lime, tart cherry, raspberry, pina colada flavors. It's awesome over at Liquid IV, and I always love a big variety when it comes to just flavors of anything, frankly. So go check out Liquid IV. They've got you covered. And if you use code MLB, folks, if you use code MLB, let me tell you what's going to happen. First of all, I'm going to give you a heartfelt shake with my hands. But secondly, you're going to get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV. Remember, that is MLB at liquidiv.com. Go check that out. And then also just want to give a quick shout out to the folks over at Prize Picks. We love Prize Picks very, very much over here. It is the #1 daily fantasy sports app with more than 5 million active members. Easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. 2 to 6 players. You put the over or under on their stat projections and watch those winnings roll in. With the finals over, with Team USA over, don't worry, there's still all sorts of things you can pick on your Shohei Ohtani over on home runs. You can pick over on Joe Musgrove strikeouts the next time he's out. You can do whatever you want. And also, we've got women's hoops coming back too with Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Brianna Stewart. All those folks are going to be back in the States playing starting tomorrow, I believe, so you can also put them into your lineups. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Folks, go check it out, guys. Download the app and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with the old Prize Picks. And just like that, folks, we are back thriving and vibing here on the Locked On Padres podcast. As I was saying, it's just really cool that every night is a new player, it feels like, that comes up for this team, at least in some way. They won't be the only one that shows up for this team. But I just like that some days you're going to get something from Higashioka, right? He got the big sac fly that, by the way, Monday night, while it looked like it was a home run off of the bat, that ends up being the run they need because they only win by a score of 2-1. Or you have David Peralta. Like I mentioned last night, it's just really cool that basically everyone in this Padres lineup is contributing. And David Peralta is showing, by the way, why you give a player like him a little bit more leniency. 737 OPS with the Padres in total. That's pretty dang good. That's going to play. 323 on base percentage. He's slugging 414. Obviously, he's not what he was before, but it's just really cool that he's turned things around so dramatically. In 10 games in August, he has an 1100 OPS, for example. So when they use him, he's been able to hit. I am still wondering exactly what Bryce Johnson's value is for this team. I feel like a Tirso and RLS in minor leagues could be a little bit better of an option. I just feel like I keep seeing Bryce Johnson make mistakes, whether it be getting picked off at first, just not a lot. So I don't understand. But hey, whatever. It's okay. The vibes are good. David Peralta also, I just really appreciate him. I feel like this has been like an apology season. You know what I mean? For all the years he's killed the Padres, we were worried that he didn't save any left to exact vengeance on everybody else. You know what I mean? But he has, at least. So I think it's very wholesome. So thank you, David Peralta, for not using only your hatred and rage and keeping it exclusive to the Padres, unlike some other teams who have players, you know, your Charlie Blackmon types. I'm looking at you, sir. That guy hates us. Or CJ Cron, all those Rockies players, you know what I mean? So really great outing for David Peralta, and it's just really great that everyone in this lineup, no matter who it is, I feel like they can do something. All right, you're not going to get the top of your lineup quality production, but it's just really nice. So shout out to the Padres for that. But folks, now let's get into some questions. I received a DM this morning when I woke up from longtime listener of the show, my guy, Travis Myers, and he said, "Hey, Javi, question idea for an episode for the pod. Given the Padres' recent success, what do you think the final record will be? Or maybe a prediction for each of the series that remain?" So, there's a couple things here. I think the final record, you have to look at overall. I will say, if we're trying to judge by the final record, it's really hard to look at the schedule and predict things like that. But I really do like that the Padres have, on top of one more game against this Pittsburgh Pirates team today, and it's going to be an early game, you have another series against the Rockies. Then you've got the Twins, Mets, Cardinals, and Rays. They're not really playing any heavy hitters until the end of the season when they play the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. Those are going to be huge series. And even the Astros to a degree next month. So it's just really, I think that their ceiling is through the roof, right? I think they can absolutely finish potentially with 88, 86 wins or whatever. Let's start with that. Let's say 86 wins, which I think is usually the common, conventional wisdom suggests, especially with the third wild card added a couple years ago, the number you get to in order to get a wild card spot, I feel like that's usually what it takes to make the playoffs. At least that's what, again, conventional wisdom suggests. And if they want to get to that 86 win margin, all they have to do is go 18-23. Right, so they literally can be under 500 and get to 86 wins and still probably make the playoffs. That's how amazing of a run that they've had so far has been. They've had the best record in Major League Baseball since the All-Star break at 18-4. The only other team that's close to them is exactly right there, and that's the Diamondbacks at 19-5, and then the Dodgers at 15-8, unfortunately. But the Diamondbacks have been so on fire too that it does mean the Padres have to keep the pace. You can't let up. They're not being helped by, unfortunately, the rest of the league right now, especially in the wild card race. I will say the Braves are helping them out. The Braves might fall out of the wild card, like it's totally possible, but that's the way I look at it. The Diamondbacks are 23-6 in their last 29 games. They're tied with us for the top wild card spot. So again, that's the only bad thing I think going on in Padres land, is that right when the Padres got hot, so did the Diamondbacks. And I was dead wrong about them. I must come through. I was dead wrong. I was saying that they might consider selling because Christian Walker's a free agency. Some of their pitchers haven't been healthy, but they didn't do that because they're smarter than me and they've been on fire. Yeah, it's totally possible though. But at 68 wins, the next closest team to a third wildcard spot is the Mets and the Giants at 61 wins apiece. So again, we're looking good. Now, if you want to say, what will it take for them to maybe break their win total under Preller, finally reach 90 wins, they would have to go 22-19, which again isn't that bad, right? So the upside of this team is above 90 wins. Like, that's absolutely possible. It is in play because of the way that they've been playing. And frankly, if they get reinforcements, right, well, we still have to see. We're going to see what happens with Yu Darvish. We're going to see what happens with Tatis, both of which you don't need to rush whatsoever because of how well they've been playing. That's what's so great. But all in all, I will say I'd love to get to 90 wins, man. That'd be fantastic. With Musgrove back, with everybody on point right now, with the great bullpen, the sky is the limit. The dream scenario of catching the Dodgers, I think, isn't quite going to work, only because I think that, the addition of Jack Flaherty, they just got Mookie Betts back. I don't know. That team is just unimpeachable, right, when it comes to winning that division, but still, Travis, I do think that they can at least win 90 games, which would be huge. And honestly, that would be a very good point in favor of Preller keeping his job because, like I said, that would be the highest win total under AJ Preller since 2015. Yes, they've made the playoffs. Yes, they've made some good runs. But when it comes to consistent, win totals and winning, they haven't always had that. So a 90-win season, having your best yet, after Preller did all these moves and whatnot, you gave him one more chance. I think that would speak volumes to him potentially keeping his job. But yeah. That's all, folks. That's all. Very good vibes indeed, folks. Let me tell you, this Padres team is just electric. But also, I had some other comments that I got on the old YouTube channel yesterday that I wanted to go over. First of all, at BatFan1 says, I have no objections to Skenes having a shot at winning the Rookie of the Year. That's right, guys. Another day, another episode talking about Paul Skenes versus Jackson Merrill. But we have seen Pitt hing H-I-N-G, I don't know if that's a word, like this before from a rookie. Just look up Dwight Gooden in 1984, and that is a comparison I will make in the Merrill Skenes debate. Before, you might be right, sir, but I will say 1984, come on, man. It's like 30 years ago, you know what I mean? Like, that's still a long time ago, right, if that's the case. But Gooden was lights out as a rookie, having one of the best seasons for any pitcher, and won Rookie of the Year voting pretty decisively, because he had no competition from an everyday player. On the AL side, Alvin Davis won Rookie of the Year on numbers that were really good. He got about the same number of first-place votes as Gooden, if not more, I can't recall. Put Davis in the NL or Gooden in the AL, and the debate is on. Who should have won Rookie of the Year? An everyday player or a pitcher? It's the same debate here. Skenes is having a great season, and so is Merrill. Let's see it play out. But in my opinion, a great season from a hitter should trump a great season from a pitcher, unless the pitcher is just having ungodly numbers, plus 20 wins, a sub-2 ERA, 280 plus Ks. Do you think Skenes is going to finish with those numbers? First of all, no, I don't, because he hasn't played a full season. That would be insane. That's why I look at things like a strikeout rate, right? That's what I think is so big for Paul Skenes right now. For you to be striking out nearly 33% of batters and then only having a low walk rate, that to me means more than approaching the total numbers, at least to me, because it's not like he's played no games. He has played a lot. But I think that you alluded to a great point, which is that will Skenes even reach the point, I think, when he gets to all those numbers? You know what I mean? I don't know if he's going to, because it's possible that if the Pirates fall out of contention, maybe they shut him down or they don't use him as much. You know how these teams are and whatnot, especially the teams with not as big of a budget. So that could be a situation there. And again, I think that I just think it's tough. I talked about this on yesterday's show. I did bring up some numbers that Jackson Merrill would have like the lowest OPS plus of a Rookie of the Year winner at this rate. His total OPS plus. Because one thing that's important for this debate is if Jackson Merrill is having what usually happens in year two, which is your full breakout where you're going to ascend to another level of your playing career. If that's what's happening right now, then he can absolutely win Rookie of the Year. But if he's just having a good run, then it's possible that Skenes, and unfortunately this is a reality, the kind of blockbuster appeal with how famous he is, with how famous his girlfriend is, that has to do with it, guys. The MLB really wants their own version of Kelsey Swift, let's just be real, that I think that's going to play in favor to it. So that's what I think it is. What is a more unique season? That's just me, though. I have nothing against people thinking otherwise. But folks, people do think otherwise sometimes, and they think otherwise about the Padres. So we're going to be going over what people think of the Padres in the power rankings, as well as a couple more of comments and questions. But first, one moment, please, because we got to talk about the lovely folks over at, wait for it, Ibata. And here's the thing, man. I just went to the beach this weekend. I had to bring my sandals. I had to bring my sunscreen. I had to bring some snacks because, what else are you going to do at the beach? The beach stinks. You don't want to be bored. You bring some snacks and drinks. And you know what? You know what can help you out with getting that grocery store trip? The folks over at Ibata. Because, why is it? Because, let me tell you folks, it is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies and even toys. Even toys. You know what I mean? It's really great. So go check that out. You can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibata user earns $256 per year. That gets you 3 beach trips, especially if you spend wisely, or it gets you some Padres tickets, right? So that's the thing about Ibata, is they're just giving you free little goodie points. That's how I view it, guys. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much, but with Ibata, you can earn cash back that you can withdraw from your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. You just have to add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and the money is yours. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy. If you're a nerdy electronic head like me, they've got you covered. Join the over 50 million users using Ibata, guys. And also, right now, Ibata is offering our Locked On Padres listeners $5 just for listening to this show. And also for using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just open it up on the Google Play or App Store. Download it for free, and remember, use that code to get cash back, LOCKEDONMLB. That's spelled Ibata, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. And that's not all, folks, so let's quickly talk about the good, legendary, timeless folks over at eBay, and specifically eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, carpet, whatever you want, they've got you, whether you're into speed, power, or style. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guarantee, your part is guaranteed to fit, right? Or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge W's, because that's what we are all about, guys. Huge W's. Keep it alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Go check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and certainly vibing here today on August 14th, a lovely Wednesday. Moving on to another YouTube comment we received. At Jukeboxter, which can I just say, awesome username. I really like that. Won 15 of the last 18. To go on that type of run, you are going to have some games where it's a real struggle. That's just the way it is. No team is going to be dominating everyone on a stretch like that. People have already forgotten that we've beaten Cleveland, Baltimore, and the Dodgers over the past 2 weeks. For me, scraping by with a series win versus the Marlins isn't going to overshadow what we've done over the entire run. The biggest takeaway is this team never feels they're out of a game. We're not a team anyone else is looking forward to playing. And we're going to talk about not looking forward to playing in just a second. Last couple comments that were made is a little bit of a weird one, I will say, from my guy here. Let me just pull it up because I think I deleted it by accident just now on my phone because I'm a little bit of a weirdo. At LFGSD Padres, who I believe has listened to this show multiple times. My guy, as a Padres podcaster, your job is to be biased. Seriously, do you think the other outlets are pulling for Merrill? They are barely noticing him because everyone just repeats what the dominant media outlet says. We need to rally for the little guy from the small market. Merrill, and small, he says in quotes, Merrill is the business. How about explain all the reasons why he should get Rookie of the Year? I have. You know what I mean? And also, no, my job isn't necessarily to be biased. My job is to cover the Padres. That's how it was pitched to me, and that's what I do. And I, by the way, have overwhelming bias. Have you not seen all the episodes I've done talking about how Ohtani to the Dodgers was awful for baseball, how the Dodgers are extremely finicky in the postseason, or how I get really excited over random Padres prospects and talking about how their farm system is better than everybody else. So I do think, sir, you're being a little bit unfair to me. I can be biased just fine, but I do take your point that, don't get me wrong, we will be talking more about Merrill as time goes along. But I just don't think that I can blindly say this guy deserves Rookie of the Year, the end, when I also have to be smart about it. I can't just say, hey, let's talk more about, Jay Cronenworth, best first baseman in baseball, because I'm supposed to be biased about the Padres. That's not how that works. And for me, how could Jackson Merrill win Rookie of the Year? I kind of outlined that, and we still have to see because we've got a month and change left, right? A lot of things can change. Frankly, there might even be a third person who comes into the Rookie of the Year race who just blasts off, carries their team to the... I don't really think there's another one there, but that's my point. A lot of stuff can change, and no, I really dispute that. My job isn't to be biased. My job is to give you the Padres perspective for sure, but not to ignore reality of baseball. Or if it is, I am not comfortable with doing that. So that's just me, but it's okay. I love you all very much. Let's talk about the power rankings. From Locked On, they ranked the Padres in the top 10, specifically at number 8. The only teams that they have ahead of them are the Diamondbacks, Brewers, Dodgers, Phillies, Guardians, Orioles, and Yankees. So, if you guys are thinking what I'm thinking, and I know you are, here's the thing. First of all, the Astros are at 11. If we want to play this game, if we're not just looking at records, because I hate when we do power rankings for anything and we just decide, oh, well, this is the best team right now. It's like, okay, cool. Everybody knows how to look up standings. That's not hard. You know what I mean? What's fun is to combine the standings with our personal feelings and our projections and all those things and whether or not we think it's legit. Because in that case, the Blue Jays, or well, not the Blue Jays, who would it be? Let's see here. Who was someone that started? The Braves should be at the beginning of the season would have been at number 1, and you're crazy for disputing that. I'm coming up with I can't really come up with a good analogy right now. I have no problem with the Orioles. I have no problem with the Guardians being ahead. I have no problem with the Phillies, certainly. No problem with the Dodgers. No problem with the D-backs. Well, a little bit with the D-backs, but all in all, I think that there's some really wrong rankings here. I think it's crazy to have the Yankees number 1 right now. Absolutely insane. I think it's insane to think that the Brewers are number 6. How long have we had eyeballs? How long? We've had eyeballs for a very long time, and you know what that tells us? That the Brewers are regular season merchants. I don't care what they do during the regular season. I'm sorry. And a lot of y'all need to stop letting the regular season stuff matter. I mean, it matters, but you need to stop using that as an indication of, wow, they're truly one of the best teams. I feel a little bit the same about the Guardians, I will say, just because I think that their pitching isn't going to last when they actually face the best teams. Phillies, Dodgers, those teams are fine. Even the Diamondbacks I can understand. I really can. If you think the Diamondbacks are better than the Padres, I'm not going to fully dispute that, right? Because they're going on a run and they're only getting better as time goes on. But to me, I'd put the Padres above the Brewers and the Guardians and probably the Yankees too. Because the Yankees, I mean, they just got killed. One of their starters just got killed by the White Sox yesterday. You think I trust the Yankees? Number 1? Come on now, man. What are we doing here? So see, folks, I can be biased for sure and unbiased. I just think that the Brewers thing is insane. What are we watching, guys? This team got swept by the Diamondbacks in the playoffs last year. All they did was trade away one of their best players. Oh, I'm sorry. Did they do something at the deadline that I'm unaware of? Did they get Trevor Rogers or something like that? I don't care. All right, the team's not going anywhere. They're not. You know how I know that? They don't spend any money. But Javi, some teams have won before. Since 1998, there are only 3 teams in the top 15. Or I'm sorry, there are only 3 teams since 1998 that were outside the top half of payroll in Major League Baseball that have won the World Series. And 15 of the teams in the top 10 of payroll won the World Series since 1998. Historically speaking, it is very hard to win a World Series if you're not spending a lot. And 2 of those 3 teams that I mentioned that were in the top payroll, it's not like they were in the bottom 6 or 7, which is where the Brewers are. So that's why I don't trust them, and that's why I hate the Brewers. But anyway, that is it, guys. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. I think that all in all, this team just has a lot of potential to keep this up. The momentum is real. The vibe is there. And I think that some of the teams that they're playing coming along, you're going to have some rebuilding teams or some teams that aren't in contention. Maybe they'll be resting on some pitchers. We talked about this with Skenes. Depending on if they fall out of contention, maybe they pull back a little bit on Skenes, don't want to waste him, don't want to, have him go out there and get hurt or anything like that. So maybe that can be the case. We're going to have to see. Last comment, though, from @SilasRobertShaw. I meant to look at this real quick and address it. Waldron's knuckleball doesn't seem to do well when it's hot and humid. Maybe it's just confirmation bias, but his last 2 bad outings were in Boston and Miami. Am I crazy? I don't know. I couldn't find any splits on weather and humidity. You know what I mean? I couldn't see anything like that. It would make sense in theory. Maybe something that makes it harder to grip the ball, especially for a pitch with so much movement and specificity with how you grip it. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I will say in terms of home-away splits, Waldron is kind of identical, at least in FIP. 3.98 FIP on the road, 3.94 I think away, and 3.98 at home, something like that with this FIP. I forgot exactly what it was, but it's nearly identical. So to me, I haven't seen it, and he's been doing it all year. It's only recently has Waldron had a little bit of trouble, but I will be looking into that, Mr. Silas Robert Shaw, very much. But with that all being said, everybody, that about does it for today's edition of the Locked On Padres podcast, the only pod that may be better than the Padres themselves. Remember to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Follow me on Twitter @Javipeno, JAVIIPENO, the best handle in the game. Tomorrow's episode, we are recapping the last game of this Pirates series. Feel free to send me more questions if you want, because honestly, I like answering you guys' questions immediately. It helps me out with doing the show. And then number 2, going to be doing a podcast with Mr. Paul Francis Sullivan of Locked On MLB, which will just be a general, maybe he'll insert his old, historical facts that he likes doing over at Locked On MLB. That's going to be one of the episodes, probably for Friday. I'd say probably for Friday. That's what we're looking at. But until that next time, stay safe. And of course, stay faithful. My Friday Faithful homies. Take care.